When was the last time that you guys watched Walter Mitty, by the way? I watched that today, and that movie is a masterpiece, dude.
I'm not sure.
I think I watched it a couple months
Did you?
ago. I watch it. I usually watch it over the wintertime, but
Yeah. It's incredible.
it's a cinematic masterpiece for
tell you
sure.
what,
Walter Mitty.
It's
For
been a
sure.
minute. It's been at least a few years since I've seen the movie. But the other day I was cooking dinner. I was like, "What's a good soundtrack? Like a movie that has a good
Oh,
soundtrack."
Oh
I
yeah,
yep.
asked Alexa to play "Secret Life of Walter Mitty" soundtrack, and it was life
and
changing.
it's
Fire.
fantastic. It's all fantastic.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Washed Kings podcast, the show where a couple of cousins talk hoops, the NBA, and keep you updated on everything you need to know about your Denver Nuggets. I'm your host, Cam Kennedy, and we are back after quite some time. Almost all of us were on vacation since the last time we did a show. So many things happened for the Denver Nuggets in that time that we have been dying to talk about. We got no Kennedy and no Ev-Dog tonight, but I do have super producer Matthew Hinnon and my co-host Pat Kennedy. Guys, there's a lot to go over, but how have you gentlemen been doing?
Been good. Enjoying the basketball offseason. Been watching a lot of Cubs baseball. Like you said, we were on vacation. Went to Chicago for our cousin's wedding. Cal, shout out to the Kennedys.
Shout
Cal
them
and
out.
Megan. Cam and I actually did a dance routine at the wedding. That was pretty fun. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on our socials on Instagram at the Washed Kings Pod. But happy to be back.
It's good content over there. You got to check it out.
Yeah, I've been at home, chilling, going to work, doing
Doing the adult stuff.
I did not partake in a vacation, unfortunately, but it was cool to live vicariously through you guys on vacation. So
We were thinking of you though, Matt, because we went on live on Instagram on our page and nobody joined because probably 80% of our audience was at the wedding itself. So we were trying to get you to join our Instagram live, but I don't think you saw it, so we just gave up.
I guess in
But
bed, something.
yeah, maybe next time. Maybe next time. The Nuggets play tonight. There's some stuff going on. The Nuggets play basketball tonight. Some Deron Holmes, Tamar Bates, Hunter Tyson's back again for a third summer league, which is kind of wild. Spencer Jones, that's going to be exciting stuff. I can't wait to see how Holmes does. Matt and I had our men's rec league game last night. The Leftovers, they lost by 13. We played a pretty good squad, but Matt and I got some buckets though. Matt, you probably ended up with like 10 or 12 or so. We had solid games.
It's good.
I think I had 12, something like that.
Yeah, we both hit a three. We both hit a three.
That's very
Maddie
that's
getting
very
behind the
rare.
arc.
That's very rare for me.
Matt hit a three.
Speaking of which, I had 1-3 in my men's league game. We play on Wednesdays as well. I think I had 7 points or whatever, but
Same,
our
I
team
had
lost
7.
as well. My team's the Cardinals, not as cool as the Leftovers, but shouts out to the Cardinals.
We're missing you on the Leftovers, Pat.
I know. If you're back at all, we'll get you a guest spot because we'll need some help. Donald played. I don't know if we told you that. Donald suited up and he had a couple buckets, so that was good to see.
Shout out Big D.
Shout out Big D. Any of the Washed Kings fans, go check out the Leftovers page. We take our rec league way too serious, and we have a lot of fun over there on those social medias. But if you're watching this right now, do us a favor and hit the like and subscribe button. That would mean a lot to us. Definitely help us out and go a long way. But guys, last time we recorded a show, we were talking about Ben Tenzer and John Wallace, their introductory press conferences, and those rough comments that Josh Kroenke had. We were all talking about how we don't expect much from this offseason, maybe a Bruce Brown signing here, a Luke Kennard signing there, something like that, but more or less just kind of running it back with the same squad. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but it's pretty safe to say that we all feel completely different about the Nuggets now than we did 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to break down exactly what happened real quick, give you a little bit of a timeline. So the Nuggets traded Michael Porter Jr. and his 2032 first-round pick, unprotected, for Cam Johnson on June 30th. And then that same night, they signed Bruce Brown to a one-year veteran minimum. So that was euphoric. That was exciting. We didn't think Porter was going to get traded. We didn't think anything was going to happen like that. Then the next day, July 1st, the Nuggets trade Dario Saric for Jonas Valsnciunas straight up. And we get a backup center while getting off of Saric's contract. More on Big Val later. But then that same day, if it couldn't get any better, they pick up Tim Hardaway Jr., another unexpected pickup on a veteran minimum. Another guy that's going to bolster the depth, the shooting, the ball handling, can play in the postseason. But we got a bunch of real veterans. So without going into it that deeply, I want your guys' first reactions when all this stuff happened, because I think it blew everyone out of the water, and that was a major surprise for the upgrades that they made. We'll see what happens with Valanciunas, obviously, but I want everyone's raw reaction when you first saw all these things happening, and don't take into account that Big Val in his situation yet. Just what was your first thoughts when all these things were happening?
Yeah, I'll go first. I was right next to you, Cam, when we both heard the news. We were just in a conversation with our dads and our uncles, and then Kennedy comes down the stairs at the steps. We're in Michigan at our uncle's lake house. He's like, "Oh, I got some Nuggets news," and we're like, "Okay, just one sec. We got to finish our
He goes,
conversation."
Nuggets trade, and we were all
Nuggets
like,
trade.
hold on, we
Yeah.
have a conversation.
And then we finished our conversation with our uncles, and then we were like, "What's up, Bear? Like, what you got?" And he broke the news to us, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, they're making moves. Who would have thought?"
Yeah, kind of similar to you guys. I think I remember kind of almost all of these trades were happening when I was at work, and I get all the notifications on my phone. So I'm sitting there on my computer, and I just see ESPN notification after ESPN notification, and I'm like, what is going on? And I remember them; they just fired off one after the other, and I remember going into the night of June 30th, and I was like, okay, like that's great. We made some moves, looked pretty good. Kind of some, I kind of think back to the draft day movie with Kevin Costner, and he's telling one of the other GMs like, "Oh, make this move. You look like a seasoned veteran. You come out of here not looking like an idiot." And I kind of thought that's exactly what Ben Tenzer and John were doing over there. And I was like, well, that's great. They make some moves. It looks good. And then the first rolls around, and we have another two brilliant signings, and I just thought, wow, if anybody was in doubt of the immediate impact of having two guys in that GM role, I don't know, I don't know how you have doubt coming out of that for the things that they can do with getting guys and who they know. Seems like they know a lot of people in their realm.
Yeah.
So I mean, huge shout out to them, and they've started
Yeah.
off hot, and just got to keep it rolling.
The respect for them went up for every single Nuggets fan. Like, there's just nothing to complain about with everything that they've just done, because you honestly, like, we'll see what happens, and we'll talk about this and stuff with Big Val and all that, but you couldn't have done any better. And what a debut for them. And their like first 2 weeks on the job. I know Tenzer took over the GM role when Booth got canned, but still just really, really impressive stuff for those VPs over there. But when all this stuff happened and the dust settled, and before the Big Val news dropped that he might go to Greece, my first instinct was top 3 contender, because I thought we absolutely crushed it out of the park. We're going to dive into what these guys provide in this episode and their impact for Denver and everything, but it just gives you more depth to get through the regular season. It got us a real backup center. Obviously, we're going to see what happens with that still, but more veterans that can play in the playoffs, more spacing, more shooting, some more ball handling, I think, and just so many things that made me feel ecstatic about all this. So, let's get into some of the specifics now on some of the players. One of the first topics we're going to talk about here is the Big Val stuff, just to get that out of the way. That's probably the biggest bummer that came from all this. After a couple of days after we traded for him, we learned the news that he might be looking to go back to Europe and play for Greece. That was kind of like pouring cold water onto something that was really exciting for all of us. And we still don't yet really know what's going on. Like, there's been some really unreliable sources, some European sources on this. I just don't know what to believe from it yet, so we'll have to see. But it does sound like, according to Shams at least, that Denver expects him to play and fulfill his contract, and that the trade with Sacramento will be going through some point this week still. I guess that's been the reporting. But here's my thoughts first off, and then you guys can jump in. But at the risk of sounding, and being the target of a very angry EuroLeague fan group and the Greeks, I don't know if you guys have seen them online, but they're pretty upset about a lot of this stuff. But the Nuggets are doing the right thing here by playing hardball, I think. Because from that perspective, they traded for a guy. He's still under contract. You need to honor it. And after the season, maybe you can look at heading to Panathinaikos or whatever. And I get all the human reasons for Val. There's been some good coverage out there about why he might want to do this: go home, be with family, be in Europe, maybe have a starting role there, getting to play more basketball as a prominent piece for a good team over there while making similar money that you would here in the NBA. I hear all of that, but you signed a deal, and you have and you have to honor that contract. In my opinion, you have a great opportunity to be a huge piece on a championship caliber team. But my guess is that Big Val will be playing in Denver this year, and from all accounts that we've heard about him, that him as a person, he's a true pro. Like, I think people, teammates, coaches all have nothing but good things to say about him. And I think that once the dust settles on this, I think that he will suit up for Denver. Cooler heads will prevail by then, and he's going to enjoy the season with Jokic being on a really good Nuggets team competing for a championship. And, all of that can fall apart, I guess, for sure. Like, he could still definitely get bought out, and the Nuggets will have to pivot from there. But you still do that Saric deal 10 out of 10 times, even though you may not be getting the piece that you traded for, because that freed up the money. You'll get the freed up money on that, I think, mid-level exception for Val, so they'll have that flexibility to sign someone else and maybe get another backup big, which is going to be hard because there's not that many out there. But what were your guys' thoughts on the whole Valanciunas debacle? Do you think he's going to stay? Do you think he's going to get bought out? Would you like him to stay, even if you know that he's maybe not wanting to be here? What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen. I feel like it's going to be a coin toss up at this point. I'm glad you played devil's advocate, though, like for the personal side of him. I mean, why wouldn't you want to go back home and like be closer to family and play your sport on a similar contract? But at the same time, I mean, what's the point of a contract in Denver? I mean, of course, they're going to expect you to, respect that contract and play. So I'm glad the Nuggets are playing hardball, because if he's able to just leave that contract, I feel like that's just going to open a whole new can of worms in the NBA, especially if
I agree.
other European players that want to leave, they're like, oh, I can just leave my contract. I mean, Big Val did that. Why can't I?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, Pat. Of you kind of have to make I don't want to say make an example, because that kind of sounds bad and pretty malicious, but for lack of a better term, yeah, you gotta make an example out of it. You can't. I didn't know that it was a possibility that you could just up and leave a contract like that. I mean, I think you would have to definitely get a buyout would have to happen with the Greece team. You again,
Or with
it's
the Nuggets.
or with the Nuggets, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think as you guys have echoed, it's like pouring cold water on something that was pretty hot, and we thought we were getting I mean, that's a steal of a deal for the Nuggets. So in my eyes, it still rubs me the wrong way, for sure. It just doesn't sit right. It doesn't look great. I think there's but there's a bad taste in Nuggets fans' mouths at this point about it, just because of it hasn't sparked up a ton of like crazy drama, but there's some drama behind there. It's tough to see where it's going at this point, but for me, it's definitely left a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm my instant reaction was, "Come on, man, really? Like we're
It's
really
like,
gonna
come on,
do
man.
this?"
The backup center spot is cursed in Denver. That's like one of the
Yeah,
first things I thought of. I was like, there's no way. And I thought the Nuggets were just gonna say, fine, we'll buy you out. But I'm glad they aren't, though, because again, like I mentioned, there's not that many options to pivot from if you don't get Big Val. Like, really, there's Al Horford, who I think would actually be awesome, but we don't know if that's a guarantee. It sounds like he might retire, or it sounds like he's leaning towards the Warriors. So there's no guarantee that you get him just because Big Val decides to go get bought out and go play in Greece. So I kind of like it. Just I think and I really do think this. I think if he came in and went to training camp, he's going to be fine. He's not going to be upset. I think he's going to enjoy the season playing on a good team in a good environment in a good culture, places that he hasn't really seen in a long time. He's never really been on those kinds of teams. So I feel like he could stick it. And it sounds weird to say this because he's a human being and he's got family in Europe and stuff, but like, you can stick it out for this year, I'm sure, and get to be in this situation. That money's still going to be there for you in Greece next year. I guarantee it. and he doesn't have a guaranteed second year on this deal, and maybe that's part of it, and maybe that's just kind of a leverage play by his agent. But I guess we'll just have to see how it all plays out. But Big Val, some stats for him last year: 10.4 points a game, 7.7 rebounds. He played in 81 games last year, split between the Wizards and Kings, mainly coming off the bench for all of them. He's just a big body. I don't know if he's necessarily like a rim protector like that, but he can post up a little bit. He can grab boards. I think I watched some tape, and he's good at dribble handoffs, pick and rolls, things like that. And I think he would just be able to give Jokic that much needed rest throughout the regular season, most importantly. And I think he could play in the postseason as well, depending on the matchups. And there's teams out there that have a lot of front court size. So I think Big Val would be a very valuable piece to this team. Do you guys have any more thoughts on Big Val, or should we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like human nature changes hard. I get why he's a little bit hesitant to come to Denver, and maybe it's just because he's gone from place to place, like being the backup. He's not like coming to a new place to be the guy. If he were to go to Greece, he would probably be the guy. And
And that's a good club he'd be joining too. I don't know all too much about them, but they win. Like and it's very popular there. We got respect for EuroLeague here. We're not some of those guys that are like, oh, screw that. It's got NBA or bust. I mean, the NBA is the top league in the world, and I think it's the best competition. But I still think that EuroLeague and stuff is great basketball too. So I'm not gonna poo it or anything. But
yeah, and no doubt. I mean, no doubt. But like, if he were to come to Denver, anybody that's played in Denver, especially around the guys that we have now, Jokic, everybody loves being around that guy. I just feel like we have such a good locker room to be in, if not the best locker room in the NBA.
I completely agree. So I hope he does show up and come into training camp, because I think he will end up liking it.
He would end up liking it. Exactly.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what's in the man's heart, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And that there was a video that was kind of floating around of an explanation as to what he was thinking and all the factors at play. And one of the things that I think stood out to him is, I mean, he went to Abu Dhabi and watched the Final Four, one of the Final Four games for EuroLeague, and the atmosphere was crazy, and they weren't even in Europe. And I think he kind of feeds off that atmosphere. And being a homer and have gone to Nuggets games, I mean, that atmosphere is pretty electric. And I know, everybody's, the culture over there is way different. People are, singing and going crazy, and
flare guns are getting shot off, and people are holding torches and shit.
It's nuts.
It's definitely not the same culture. But if you want something close to that, I don't know why you don't come to Denver and stay in the league. And but yeah, he would be joining a really good crew over there in Greece. And of course they have Nuggets legend Juancho Hernan-Gomez over there.
That's right, Bo Cruz.
Bo Cruz. So
it's a great poll.
I think it's you gotta look out for the guy and kind of see it from his perspective. But you also, as fans that have been robbed of a Jokic backup center, and hearing the dreaded
competent one,
hearing the dreaded it's Jokic minutes, it's Jokic is off the floor, and the dreaded non-Jokic minutes, it's kind of hard not to kind of pull from that and be like, no, we really need this guy.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the biggest frustration, is like, for so long that's been the biggest like issue, is we don't have a backup center. And
I don't want to hear it anymore. Right. I don't want to hear that anymore. But
I don't want to put Deron Holmes in a spot where he's really important next year either. I would rather him come back from this Achilles, have the pressure off of him. He's going to be a rookie. I'm really excited to see what he can do, because I think he's very valuable and he's going to be a good player. But I would like him to kind of take a third string spot here in the front court and kind of work his way into it. But anyways, we're going to move on, because there's a lot more to talk about too, and we're going to get into maybe the most exciting piece for me is Cam Johnson. I sent you guys that clip of Tim Hardaway and Cam Johnson on the podcast yesterday, both excited to be playing with Jokic. That was a great clip, and that I didn't watch the whole show, but I did see clips from that show, and they seem like really smart, really excited to be in Denver. But yeah, I made a whole TikTok on that video yesterday too, talking about how great of a fit that these guys will be here. But they're going to be in different roles for sure. Obviously, with Cam being a starter and THJ coming off the bench. But first on Cam Johnson, we'll focus on him first. First of all, when the trade happened, I was thinking he might be a better player than Porter, and he makes $17 million less than Porter, which freed up the cap space for the Nuggets to in their roster to add more guys. So that was fantastic. First of all, that was a big W. But I also really do believe that his fit with this team will be seamless, and it might be better than Porter in a lot of ways. But and I'll go over some of those, and we can kind of talk about them. But I think Cam Johnson, and this was talked about in DNVR and stuff, but I think he has less of an issue sitting in the corners. I don't think Porter ever really felt comfortable there. He would always kind of be reluctant to do that, and he kind of drifts up towards the wings where I think he's more comfortable shooting. But Cam Johnson, over his career, has no problem shooting from the corners. So that's going to help the spacing. Second of all, I think he has a better IQ on both ends of the floor. I think he's better off ball. I think he's a better cutter. He's going to be in the spots that he needs to be, and I think he's just kind of one of those guys that knows where he needs to go at the right time, and Jokic thrives with players like that. I think he'll be able to create shots for himself. The highlight tapes and stuff from him are pretty awesome. If you want to watch, you should sometime. He shot 39% from three last year in Brooklyn. He averaged 18.8 points from just 18.8 points. He got up 7.2 threes a night, which I think is going to be perfect and a better fit in a lot of ways than Porter. And then cheaper, like I mentioned. So I absolutely loved the deal that they made. I don't care about that first round pick in 2032 at all, because that's 7 years away and you have Jokic right now. But I will say the only downside with Johnson is ironically his availability compared to Porter. He's only played over 65 games once in his career, and that was in 2022. He only played in 57 games last year, and maybe that's just him being with a Brooklyn team that's not that serious and not going to be, a contender or anything. But I don't think that's anything to worry about or be too concerned with right now. So how do you guys feel about the addition of Johnson and his fit with the Nuggets?
Man, I'm excited. I mean, I feel like it's a pretty even trade, and I feel like what we gave up, like you said, it's so far away, and by then it'll be outside of Jokic's prime, and maybe Jokic won't even be around by then. He might be retired by 2032.
It might be a
So
really valuable pick, but I don't care right now.
Yeah. At this point, I mean, you're trying to rally around Jokic's, his prime, which is now, and you gotta. I mean, it's now or never to win a championship. So I think this is the right move for Denver, especially on the defensive side. Looking at the stats comparison between Cameron Johnson and MPJ, steals, Cam Johnson in the last year, Cam Johnson averaged 0.9 steals compared to MPJ's 0.6 steals. Contested shots, Cam Johnson 4.2 versus MPJ's 3.5. Defended field goal attempted. It was pretty similar here. Cam Johnson 11.2 versus MPJ's 11.1. And then turnover frequency, Cam Johnson 8.7 versus MPJ's 21.1. So I just feel like he's a more versatile player overall on both ends of the court. And just looking at his highlights from the last year, I feel like a lot of Nuggets fans have kind of dug deep into some videos with some of these guys, some of the highlights. He just looks like he's a little bit more shifty of a player, a guy that can drive to the bucket a little bit more, look to pass after the drive. And I just feel like his court awareness is pretty good, and I think it'll play really well alongside Nikola Jokic.
Real quick, Matt, I was really impressed with how well he could handle the ball and how much he was able to create shots for himself. I didn't know that was really a thing of his game, but his step back, I saw a bunch of shots, highlight tapes from his step back threes. Also, something I didn't mention real quick, the types of 3-pointers he takes can be really deep sometimes, like way deeper than Porter's ever comfortable with, which I think is really valuable too. Just having that, being able to make defenders come out even more because you're a threat to shoot a deeper three is better than Porter. And he also has one of the quickest shot releases in the NBA. So, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, you guys touched on all the good qualities of scoring and his abilities, and I think one of the best, if we're looking side by side trade, and you both touched on this briefly, but value. I mean, you have a great value for somebody that you can argue is better than Porter at most aspects of the game. And one of the things that stood out to me during that video that you sent, Cam, was when Cam Johnson took the mic on that video while Tim Hardaway was cheesing away about playing with Jokic, and Cam let off a little bit of a smirk, but he was on point when he was talking about how great it's going to be for his game to play alongside Jokic, who he said he's a great passer. His ability to open up the floor and to understand where he is in space, and get him the ball, get Cam Johnson the ball. Cam Johnson said, "I'm going to cut like crazy. We're going to rotate it." He said everybody knows. It was kind of I don't know if it was a jab at this past year's Nuggets team, but he said now everybody is going to know where they need to be at all times on the floor. And him saying that, his game backs it up. I mean, you can see it in all the highlight tapes, but I think he's incredibly excited to play alongside Jokic. And I think we're as fans equally excited to see what he's going to bring to this team. And that's kind of the tip of the iceberg for what we've got going this offseason. So
Yeah, what's great is he got that experience in Phoenix as a role player with a really good team, went to the finals in 2021. He got that experience with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton. That was a really good team. And he was kind of like their fourth or fifth guy. Really impactful. And then he goes to Brooklyn in that KD trade, and he kind of takes the role as like one of the main shot takers, one of the main guys, one of your two best players. And I really like that he has both perspectives of that now, because I think he might be able to obviously play that role seamlessly as the fourth or fifth guy, maybe third or second on some nights. I think he's probably going to be the third leading scorer on the team this year. But also when people are injured, Jamal's having an off night, whatever the case may be, I kind of have faith that he can do some things on his own too, create some shots for himself, kind of bolster that those staggering bench units more. Like I kind of have a lot more faith in what he can do with our bench rather than what Porter could ever do. Jamal and Porter just never could carry a bench. So I think Johnson's going to be actually a pretty good piece of that. So if we have no more thoughts on Cam Johnson, we'll move on to Tim Hardaway and Bruce Brown.
Let's do it.
All right. So those were the other two guys. These are the vet minimums. These Bruce Brown, which we expected because that was the worst kept secret ever. And then Tim Hardaway was a surprise. Didn't see that one coming at all. So a couple numbers on Hardaway. Last season, he played in 77 games, so that's good for availability. He's like 33 years old, I think. Started in all of them for the Pistons. He averaged 11 points, shot 36.8% from three on 5.9 attempts per game. The ball has been known to stick in this guy's hands a little bit too long sometimes on past teams, but I think that was more out of necessity. And on this group, he's going to be coming off the bench, and I think that's going to be actually a good thing off the bench because we kind of need guys that can handle the ball a little bit, create their own shots and everything like that. But he's played in the NBA for 12 seasons. He's a veteran he's as much of a veteran as you can be. He played in 48 playoff games in his career on good teams. He played in Dallas during their 2024 finals run. I just read the stat before we started, but Tim Hardaway Jr.'s fast break finishing. He's great on the break. He shot 81% on transition rim field goal attempts, and the NBA average is 66%. So combined over the last 5 years, he shoots 72% in those situations. So I would definitely expect a lot of touchdown passes from Jokic and Tim Hardaway Jr. when they share the floor next year. But yeah, he said he wants to come here, play defense, run in transition. He's going to hit open threes. I'm very confident in. He's going to start on occasion when people are hurt or whatever. He's just going to be great for the depth as a depth piece and fill in where he needs to. He'll fill a role. I really like it. And just on a veteran minimum is a great deal too for what he'll provide. And I bet this for him is a play on trying to recoup some value and get a better contract after the season. I wouldn't expect him to be here longer than this season, kind of like what Bruce Brown did 2 years ago. But guys, what are your thoughts on Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off the bench, being another piece, another shooter, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, this move just totally. I mean, the biggest problem from last year was the depth, and this just totally goes right at that problem. And I mean, he's just a veteran shooter. Obviously, adds the depth off the bench. He's a good shooter, good corner three shooter. So in that aspect, he's going to space the floor out. I'm excited. It's another veteran player off the bench that you'll have alongside Bruce Brown. I feel like last year the only like main veteran that we had off the bench was Russell Westbrook, and other than that, I mean, nobody really had that big of an impact as a veteran. Um, DeAndre Jordan really wasn't much off the bench, but I feel like THJ and Bruce Brown, you know what to expect from Bruce Brown, especially with his defensive versatility too. I feel like it's going to be really, really huge to have these guys in terms of depth.
Yeah, I I agree with the depth piece, and something that you touched on, Pat, was the only other guy that we had last year was Russell Westbrook, and we didn't have him for a good chunk of the first half of the year. So I think he brings. Not I'm not going to compare him to Russell Westbrook because I think their games are pretty
They're
uh,
pretty different.
different.
Yeah.
But he does bring that veteran guard presence. I don't think we'll have to worry about him finishing with the right hand and on layups and smoking them. But I
For
just think he'll be a better presence all around. We've touched on the court. I think off the court in the locker room. I think he'll be a good mentor for all the young guys. We have a ton of young guards that I don't really think have the mentorship that they really need. And not saying that Jamal Murray's gonna just kind of throw all these guys by the wayside, but I haven't really seen him do a whole lot of putting an arm around a younger guy, especially a guard, and kind of taking him under his wing. And I don't think he's there at that point in his career yet. But I think it's somebody that you can bring in and say, hey, you're going to be
Totally.
a veteran guy. This is really good for our depth, and we're also going to have you kind of teach some of the younger guys really how to play ball the right way. And I think that's a great addition. And honestly, yeah, like you said, Pat, shocking when I saw it. It's like, wow, okay,
I couldn't
really,
believe it.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that was a heat check from Ben Wallace, the combined John and Ben. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming whatsoever. But yeah, you're right. You make good points, and that was something that I thought of too. Is that he's played in the league for a long time. He's been with Dallas, New York, Atlanta, and Detroit. Detroit just last year, and that was a young team on the rise. And not that the Nuggets are like on the rise or whatever, but like I think he can provide some really good perspective for a guy like Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, guys that are kind of in a mold of like being, in the back court and the front court because he kind of does a little bit of both. He's not a point guard, but he can handle the ball, which I like to see because I think you just need guys that can do that when it comes to the playoffs, and I think he's going to be just fine in that slot. But yeah, I can't really say any more than that. I think Hardaway's a great fit, and I can't wait to see him be with the squad, come off the bench. I bet you he's going to start some when people get hurt or whatever. Really, all these moves make me feel so good about what the regular season can be and how much more we can survive the regular season than compared to past years. But I'll get to Bruce Brown now too. We can talk a little bit more on him. Obviously, we know Bruce. Um, that's a fan favorite for everyone. He just brings the vibes, and we know he's a guy that can play in the Nuggets system. He can handle the ball, can shoot a little bit, defend a little, but he just knows how to play, and he's a dog. So I'm really just excited to have him back too for everything that we described about Tim Hardaway. It fits for him too. The depth pieces and everything. He's going to be able to close out games when we need him. We saw him doing it in the playoffs and at a high level. He has struggled the last couple seasons outside of Denver with stops in Indy, Toronto, and in New Orleans, and he's been a bit injury prone too. But he works here. We know that. We've seen it, and at the veteran minimum too, it's just great value. And I'm just so pumped that he's back with the Nuggets. So, we don't have to go too deep into Bruce Brown because we kind of know what he is, but the Bruce Brown vibes, that feels good. What do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited about his IQ and knowledge of the game. I don't mean to make a direct comparison to Russell Westbrook. I feel like just sometimes Russ will get out of control, but that's just his style of play, as we've mentioned before. Um, but Brucey B, we know he works with the system, and he's a guy that really wants to be in Denver, and that's huge. He loves this fan base, and I'm excited to see his game day fits again.
Yeah, I mean, worst kept secret, like you said, Cam. I mean, I think we kind of saw that
Cowboy
coming.
Bruce. Matt, you and I were there.
We were there.
He was
Yeah,
at game 2.
we saw Bruce at
Bruce the
game 2
Clippers. Yeah,
versus the
that's right.
Clippers, and I think Cam and I looked at each other and we were like, "He's so back."
he tweeted
And
during that game, "I miss playoff basketball.
Yep.
Like I miss this atmosphere." Yeah.
yeah, so that was. I mean, it was very satisfying. Is the best word I can use for it, to see that actually go through and it not be all, smoke and talk. But I love it. I love the move. I think he's going to do well. Adds to the depth again for sure. I just think it was a great, super obvious pick. I mean, if that was the first thing that Ben and John did, I would have loved it. I mean, that's a very obvious. He's a free agent, and you go get him, and you got, he was honestly kind of so starved for that atmosphere, and I think we saw it, that he would have come back on a vet minimum, and that's exactly what he did. So super smart move by Ben and John in the front office, and I don't have any bad things to say about it. We'll see where it goes, but love the guy.
I think both him and THJ are here for getting that value back up and working toward a next contract next summer, which is, of course we want to keep them and stuff, but I also get that part of it too. I think they're both going to be playing that angle. They can win a title here, and they can earn their next contract too. So I'm fine with it for the time being. And I think Denver's a great place to do that kind of thing. And we've seen a lot of players have success doing that. I mean, Bruce Brown obviously got the big contract, KCP, big contract. Jeff Green is still playing and hanging around. And a lot of that I feel like had to do with his role on the Nuggets in 2023. So yeah, super pumped, Bruce, to have him back. The thing about these additions is that the Nuggets just got so much more versatility. There's a lot of different lineup configurations Denver could do, and we don't have time to go over all of them, obviously, because there's just so many. But I wrote down the real guys on the team that I think I could see playing a big role in the playoffs. And really, it comes to 9 guys, and that's what we didn't have last year. We had 6.5, right? So obviously, there's the starters: Jamal, CB, Cam Johnson, AG, Jokic. The bench: Bruce Brown, Valanciunas, hopefully he stays, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Peyton Watson. So Peyton Watson can kind of be in that like 8th man, 9th man. I think he's still going to be important, obviously, but that's fine, because he had to play a really important role last year, and I just don't know if he's quite there yet. But this gives some of that pressure off of him too. But then there's also guys on the bubble. I wrote down Julian Strawther, Deron Holmes, and Jalen Pickett. So we go to like 10 or 11 or 12 guys that were like, they, it's possible in a pinch if we need a guy like Deron Holmes or someone, or like Jalen Pickett, just to come in, or Strawther. We saw Strawther have a huge game in Game 6 versus OKC. So that's 9 real guys that can play in a playoff game. And we know rotations shrink even more than that. And we have maybe the best starting 5 in the league. And if we have to go to a 7-man rotation, some of those guys get cut out. We're just so much more equipped than we were last year. And if that team we have now got to play OKC, or be in the playoffs this last year, I think they win it all easily. So it's great. 9 real guys.
I do want to touch on that real quick, if you don't mind, because I think this will speak to David Adelman, and obviously we've gotten very limited sample size from him actually doing head coaching in the NBA. But the fact that he used Julian Strawther and Pickett in those situations in the playoffs, and kind of trusted his guys, kind of cements it for me as, like, with Michael Malone, I think he was so caught up in the Calvin Booth stuff and that feud that he had, that he wouldn't even think about playing. We hear it from coaches all the time, and Cam and I, you've heard, or actually all of 3 of us have heard it in baseball for a long time, is like, a lot of coaches don't play their young guys, and that's just because they want the experience of the juniors and the seniors and those upper class dudes that have been there and have been through that situation before. But I think it'll speak to David Adelman, is he's got a lot of opportunities now. And yeah, you can squander it, but if we look at the positive side of that, is he's got a lot of dudes he can lean on. And even getting into that bubble, Cam, with Jalen Pickett, with Julian Strother, with De'Ron Holmes, even. I mean, if De'Ron Holmes has one heck of a season, I don't see why you can't throw him in for 2 or 3 minutes. Really give, you can give AG a rest. I wouldn't throw De'Ron Holmes in at the 5, but you give him a 4 with his athleticism, and if he gets better this offseason than he already is, and then he has a run at it in the regular season, and David Adelman trusts him enough to, run 3, 4, 5 minutes in a playoff game, that's going to be huge. I mean, that you're looking at, like you said, Cam, a 10, 11, 12 man rotation in the playoffs. And we've seen it over the past, 4 years of teams that have depth win the championship. That's just the way it goes. And,
Pacers and
we'll definitely
OKC meet up in the finals, and they, for large parts of the postseason, had 10-man rotations. So yeah, great. That's what it is. Those are the teams that are going far. And Jokic noted that after the season was over. If you remember that quote he had, he was like, "Oh, what are we seeing? The teams that have depth and can go deep rotations are the teams that are going further and further." So great point there. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up David Adelman too, because he has all these toys in the toy chest now to play with. And I'm really excited. We obviously don't know exactly. We saw the playoffs and it went really well for him, but now we get to really see him put his mark on this team. I thought last year he kind of operated like Malone would, just because that's what the roster was and that's what was needed for the playoffs especially. But now we get a full regular season to see what he wants to implement with a set of toys that are just really exciting and things that I think could be really successful if they're used correctly. And I feel like the Nuggets are just going to have like the best offense in the league this year. But also, just to mention real quick, we got some assistant coaches added too that are actually exciting, in my opinion. JJ Barea off the 2011 championship Mavericks team, joining the assistant coaching staff. And then Jared Dudley coming over from Dallas as well as the top assistant for David Adelman, which I love. So, I don't have notes on how those guys coach or whatever, but I just think it's kind of a cool thing to show that the Nuggets are kind of like in the club almost of like the NBA. Like a guy like Jared Dudley, who has a lot of cachet in the league and is very well respected and smart, comes over to Denver to be the top assistant. And obviously he wants to climb the ladder and probably be a head coach someday. But I really like that he came over. And I thought that was cool. We don't have to really talk about that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really cool that, we have a whole new system. Obviously, we talked about now we got depth, we got all these new players, obviously new GMs, we got the new head coach. And it's really cool that, Adelman's obviously his whole life, he's been surrounded by his whole life with his dad, and then into his NBA career, he was surrounded by some really good head coaches, including Mike Malone. But now he's adding these other tenured NBA coaches. It's, the knowledge that it's going to be leading this new crew with Denver. How can you not be excited as a Denver Nuggets fan for everything new that's happened in the last couple months here? I'm super stoked.
They're heading in the right direction. Yeah.
I want to dive in deeper for a minute on what Pat said. David Adelman is, I'm going to be I'm going to addle my cage here.
Addle it, baby.
I think he's doing a great job of being a leader and being able to delegate. I've heard it said many times, especially in sports, is like the head coach, and I think Michael Malone kind of did this, but he really took over the reins, and it was his decision and nobody else's. You had assistant coaches, but I don't think we saw enough of input from them. And I think David Adelman is encouraging additional input, especially with getting these guys on. And like you said, Pat, the knowledge in that coaching room is going to be second to none in the league. And I think,
and the player relationships too. We've heard that those guys are, especially Jared Dudley, are tough but fair with players, and they have a lot of respect for him. So
yeah, I just think he's surrounding himself with all the help he wants and all the help that he needs to make good decisions going forward. And like you guys said, they're all very personable, and they can get along with basically everybody. So that's a great addition. I love to see that coming from the coaching staff, because now it kind of seems like we have a well-rounded organization that is caring about putting the right guys in the right spots, even if they don't spend that top tier money that everybody was kind of thinking that they should do. So
I don't know what Dudley was paid, but to me, like, that felt like a big, like, an assistant coach that's like pretty prominent and is kind of on the up and up coming to Denver. It's like felt like a pretty big move. So
Yeah, including us. Like we all thought that the Cronkies, who we would say is cheap. We're like, spend the big bucks. Get a tenured head coach, get somebody. I don't know, but I mean, you just gotta tip your
sure,
cap to the
right.
Cronkies. They've done a good job of rejuvenating the whole system on like a decent budget too. Like, I mean, you really haven't
They've kept
spent
things
a ton
cheap.
of money. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
We ducked under aprons and stuff. I need to see where the cap sheet's at. But the trading Michael Porter, getting Cam Johnson in was huge for the cap space and stuff. So
it's incredible. So hats off to the Cronkies. Hats off
seriously,
to Ben Wallace, our combined
yes.
GM. We talked about
Love-
the two
love
brains
Ben-
coming
love
together.
Ben Wallace. I haven't heard
And,
much from Josh since all those trades and moves went down. I haven't heard much from Josh. We were hearing from him every other day.
yeah, he's probably just quietly in the corner, just watching everything go down.
Yeah.
Like
He's like, I'm gonna put hands off now. We're in a good spot. I'll see y'all
Yeah.
in a little bit. Yeah, like,
and I love that. And I think he came in.
yeah,
to
good.
I think he came in and did what he needed to do, and I think now he feels comfortable enough to step back. And if you're Josh Kroenke, you feel ecstatic about the decisions that you made with Ben and John.
Yeah,
at the helm right now. So
Dr. Strange ass just. We talked about it. He's Dr. Strange. He's
Dr. Strange.
Got something that makes he's
salvaging
the team.
Episode. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man. Hats
stuff.
off to them. They're making some great decisions on kind of on a budget, but we're not going to complain if they're not spending money if it seems like they're making the right choices. So we're not in a place to do that. But I also feel really good because I do believe in John Wallace and Ben Tenzer making like deadline trades if they need to. Say like an obvious glare, somebody becomes available or something that we're like, wow, we can get this guy, or there's a problem that we need to address. And I have confidence that they can get trades done too. And we've seen 2 savvy trades already. But before we get out of here, we're going to do one more topic, and that's just to give a couple minutes to Michael Porter Jr. Obviously, the sad part of all of this is we lose a core guy, one of the guys that was a part of the core 4, one of the longest tenured Nuggets with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. You can't talk about this era with Jokic in the championship and stuff without talking about him. I'll just go first, I guess. He's always going to be revered highly for me. I thought he was maybe given a contract that wasn't, good for him to make that money, but probably unfair in the scope of he wasn't really a max contract kind of guy. Really good player, yes. And we're always going to appreciate everything he did, especially in the playoff run where we win the championship and everything. And man, like, I think fans are going to look back and I think have a lot of respect and love for him as a 6'10" sharpshooter flamethrower that was just really special. So I shout out to Michael Porter Jr. If you haven't seen that video yet on YouTube that he put out on Curious Mike, he has a great thoughtful video talking about it for like 10 minutes about thanking people, thanking Tim Conley, thanking Jamal and Jokic and everything. And I'm honestly excited to see him in Brooklyn. He talked about how his time in Denver probably plateaued, and I think he's probably right. And if he wants to explore his game as a player and really see him taking all the shots and stuff, I'm excited to see what he can do on a bad team in Brooklyn. And I hope he balls out and I can't wait to watch him. So shout out to Mike. Always going to have a lot of love for him. And I'll give you the mic, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about to get teared up here. I feel like, I mean, it's just Michael Porter. I'm gonna miss his smile.
It's kind of sad.
It is really sad. I mean, he's a great player, and it sucks to see him go out the way he did, especially with the injury and the tough end to his regular season. I just feel like that left a bad taste.
He felt so bad too. He talks about that in that video where he's just like, I felt like it was my fault. Like I really tried. Like I couldn't lift my arm, and I'm like, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
if you want to quote a Drake song, he died trying, and I mean that's Michael Porter Jr. and he's I mean, he's always been a guy who's bought into his role. When he was on the bench, he was a great teammate, and it was always something like early in his career. I thought that he was a little bit selfish just because he was a catch and shoot type guy. But then once I found out that he was a team guy and buys into his role, my respect for him went up. And I don't know. I mean, he's such a likable guy. Brooklyn's getting a great player, and I really do hope that he makes a career there.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, you have those guys that you kind of look back and think about, and you're like, oh, like legend, like Nuggets legend. And I think we'll always look back at MPJ that way and go, man, we had the best times, man. And unfortunately, basketball is a business where you have to make really tough decisions, and this unfortunately was a hard decision for them to make, I imagine. And yeah, watching that video, it's like it kind of puts a different perspective into things, and you get to see things from a player's perspective, and
Like the human being.
he's such a professional, man, and the way he handled that was fantastic. And like you guys said, I wish nothing but the best for him in Brooklyn. I want to, I would love to see him just go off in Brooklyn and go crazy. Lead that team and have a great time over there. But to anybody that wants to look at a player, especially somebody that has gone through 3 back surgeries, I'll tell you something right now. 1 back surgery puts the majority of professional players out of the game for good.
It's a miracle he's playing.
It is a miracle that through 3 back surgeries he's playing, and not only did he play, not only did he win a championship, he still is a great
really
player.
good player. Yeah.
And I think that speaks to his toughness, man. Like, and he was needed by the Nuggets this postseason in whatever fashion that he could bring, and he brought it. And I think he brought it with
as best he could.
As best he could. He brought it with maturity. He brought it with professionalness, and we'll have nothing but great things to say about MPJ. So my hats off to MPJ. Cheers, dog, and
cheers to Porter.
I hope you go kill it in Brooklyn.
What I'm excited for him to come back when he's with Brooklyn.
Oh yeah,
if Brooklyn plays in Denver.
The tribute.
Oh man,
the tribute video is going to be touching.
It's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah,
he sacrificed so much for the Nuggets, and it was correct. His process was correct in doing that because a championship resulted, and it was just the best way for the Nuggets to play is him sacrificing a bit of his talent or abilities, I guess. But yeah, that guy's one tough son of a bitch, and I hope he makes, like, I just thought about this, but what if he gets like 18, 19 shots up a night and he's averaging like 26, 27? What if he makes the All-Star game in the East? That'd be hilarious. I hope he does, though. It'd be cool.
I'll be a little bit jealous, but I'll be happy as long as the Cam Johnson's working out in Denver.
For sure.
As long as that's working out.
Yeah.
The Nuggets have only lost like 6 games by All-Star break. I'm like, okay, well.
Hopefully it's a win-win trade. I mean, that's all you can ask for.
I think so, and I think it will be for what Brooklyn needs right now. I don't know where they're going. They had a weird draft and stuff, but hey, I'm going to tune into some Brooklyn games this year just to see how Porter does. But yeah,
no doubt.
Nothing but love from Mike. All right, fellas, what do you say we get out of here?
GTFO.
We're very pleased, just like Jokic is. It was reported by Brian Windhorst that he was very pleased with the offseason moves to this point for Denver, and I think that describes our mood and all of Nuggets Nation's mood. But that's going to do it for the Washed Kings today. Go follow us on our socials on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And gentlemen, that was fun. We'll talk soon. Go show us some love. Leave a like.
Sir.
Drop a follow.
Out of that cage.
Out of that cage.